welcome. I'm Viona Terleth. I am the founder of Discover Me, a networking platform and a personal development platform. I have a background of about 20 years in hospitality, commercial leadership roles, and the last 2-3 years I started developing myself as a team coach and a personal coach. So today we're going to talk about personal leadership. And let me start sharing my screen. Here we go. Where is it? Here. Yeah. So, hope you can all see my screen. And let me open up the chat box so I can see it myself too, because otherwise I cannot respond to you. That's great. All right, so let me start with my story first, because I guess everybody has a story around Corona. And my story started in the first week of March. I saw all the news about Corona in China, and I really thought, well, this is not coming to Holland. And in the first week of March, I went to London on a sales trip. And the first kind of victims or people fell ill on the virus. And it really felt like, what's happening to me? This is almost like a mourning, like you're losing a loved one. And it really felt like I was losing, well, basically my life. And I really went through the phases when you're mourning, and I'm not sure if you're all familiar with the phases, but the first phase was, well, you know what, it's not going to happen to me. So on the 6th of March, I decided to still go to a very busy party in Paradiso. I was dancing. Well, in the back of my mind, I knew, what is this virus? Do people have it around me or not? And the second phase is I became very angry. I thought, well, this is not fair. I'm not really happy about this. And why is this happening to me while I'm, in my first year of entrepreneurship? And afterwards, after being really angry, I started negotiating. I went back to my client saying, well, maybe you can give me more business, or maybe we can do other things together, just to make sure that my livelihood was still taken care of. And then it really was a couple of sad days. I cried and I thought, what am I supposed to do? I almost felt depressed. And after all these cycles, the 4 or 5 steps, I accepted it. This is the new reality. And you know what? After 2 or 3 weeks of struggling, it really didn't feel good. I felt anxious and very insecure about my future. And I was asking myself, am I now alive or am I in survival modus? And you know what, to be fair with you, the last one was really true. So I'm not sure if you recognize a little bit of this story, but yeah, this is the way a lot of people were dealing with it. I spoke to a lot of people. So if you recognize this, I can help you with a couple of steps. But first of all, let's look at, here we go. Oh, hello. So let's look at conditioning, because that's the basic of all behavior. It starts from around 8 months old as a baby. Your parents start expecting things from you. And, you're supposed to start crawling or walking. You're supposed to listen and be good. And later when you grow up, you really, sorry, I'm getting distracted. You really know what's expected of you, So conditioning really is a collective name of the way human beings are interacting to adapting to the environment and how they interact with each other. So think about, that's why I have the dog in the slideshow here. What happens with Pavlov? The bell rings and the dog starts salivating. And that's what's happening to us too in the conditioning. So the basics is everything in your life, every person is based on conditioning. So now we know what conditioning means. We can have a look at your autopilot. And I'm sure a lot of people have noticed that sometimes you're not very aware of what's going on around you. So scientifically speaking, we have around 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day, of which we have about 8 to 10 limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are those, I call them little devils that whispering in your ear and saying things like, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, I'm not the best person out here on my work, I'm fat, I'm ugly, things like that. So think to yourself for a moment right now, because I'm sure you can find immediately a couple of those limiting beliefs. Anybody? You want to share maybe one of your limiting beliefs? No? Well, I'll share you mine. One of my limiting beliefs is, the other can do it better. Yes, Wendy, I know that one for sure. Like you think like I'm smaller than the other ones. Absolutely. Not smart enough. Yeah, I know that one too. Yeah. Do I really add value? Great. Those are the limiting beliefs I mean. So when you start having these limiting beliefs, the little devils on your shoulder whispering in your ear, you start acting in a certain way. And you're acting the same way to different events. So maybe something happens in your work and you act because of this limiting belief. But then something completely else happens in your personal life, you still act the same way. And this is what we call a pattern. And we have about 45 patterns. And for example, one of the patterns I have in my life is I'm not a successful entrepreneur. I can't do it or anything like that. So when you have these patterns and you start acting all the time the same way, and they get, in this learning process of growing up and you're becoming older in your life, and I'm now 42, these patterns become survival strategies. And that was the answer I just gave you in the other slide. I was surviving. And these survival strategies, we have all of us, we have 5. And one of these survival strategies is a little bit more present in your life than the other one, but I'll walk you through a couple of them. So first of all, you start making choices out of scarcity. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. Who recognizes that? How to recognize patterns, Flores. Yes, absolutely. In the next slide, we're going in. Wendy, not enough time. The story of your life. Yeah, I get that. And how it works for me, not having enough time or money, I start doing things before I'm even there. So I use the survival strategy, a lack of time as well. Because what I do, I plan so much time because I'm scared I don't have enough, that I'm always early, for example. Or another one, and that's very relevant right now in the Corona crisis, is I don't have enough money, I need to make more, I need to have a job, or anything like that. So now you understand how that works. The second one is you start escaping by doing more things or better things or different things. And this is my biggest strategy. So as soon as I start feeling insecure, I start working harder. And I do, well, for example, I had a job in the past and it wasn't really nice and I felt insecure. I just job hopped to the other one. But I wasn't solving maybe the issue that was lying within me, in my behavior. So another one is taking a position. And this means maybe you're looking at a crowd of people and thinking, I'm so weird and they're so cool. Or, I'm a woman and they are men. And this is really when you're starting to kind of split yourself up from the crowd. And that's definitely also things you can see back in your behavior. Another one, and I'm sure you're going to recognize this one, is my way or the highway. The only way I'm going to make my goals happen is this way. I can only look this way because the world is black and white. I can only go this way. And by only having that one view in life, you're not open to all the opportunities and all the other ideas that are around you that maybe help you to get to your goals a different way than just your one vision. And the final one is the victim. And I'm sure we've all had this one. This always happens to me. I never have a parking spot when I'm driving around Amsterdam. Or, I always get fired. It's not because of me. They are stupid people. Or maybe I never get a boyfriend because of XYZ. Does anyone recognize feeling like a victim, that life happens to you instead of by you, and that you are in control? Sometimes. Yeah, me too, of course. And you know what? All these five strategies we have within us, and obviously they change as well. So now you know conditioning and the patterns, and that create strategies. So let me help you find them, Floris. That was one of your questions. So here we go. I call this the confidence questions. When you're starting feeling a little bit strange in your, maybe in your belly or anywhere in your body, you feel a sensation of insecurity or maybe worries or even anxiety, you can ask yourself 3 questions. The first one is, am I of value? So do you feel valuable to yourself, or maybe to your family or friends or your environment or your community? When you can say yes to that question, that's amazing. Absolutely. Wow, Bogdan, good for you. I think you're valuable too. Anyway, the second question is, can I do something? Am I capable of, maybe you're really good at your work, or maybe you're an amazing sports person or the best mom in the world. That's also really cool. And the last one is, do I have influence? Influence on your life, or is life, like I just explained in the victim strategy, happening to you? So these 3 questions, when you've answered them all really honestly with a yes, you're feeling confident. But we were going through the phases, and I just remember my story about Corona. We were going through the phases of, something's not feeling right, and I'm feeling restless. And what I did, I really realized, like, shit, I'm in survival modus. You know what I was doing? Every morning I stood up and I started looking for vacancies while I'm an entrepreneur. It's really strange. So I asked myself these 3 questions, and my answer to do I have influence was not yes, it was a no. I didn't feel I had influence on my income or on the time I had to kind of develop my company further. And that's where I knew, the little devils, they are hidden within this question, the influence question. Do I have influence on my life, and if life is happening to me or not? So what I started doing, when did you realize the survival mode, and what broke the pattern? Exactly. So I realized like something was happening in my belly, and I asked myself these 3 questions, and I said no to do I have influence? And I knew that's where I had to look. And with that influence, I started asking myself, like, what beliefs, what devils are talking to me? And I found out this is the devil again saying you're not a successful entrepreneur. And as soon as you figured out what voice, what little devil voice is limiting you, ask yourself, is this what I'm thinking right now 100% true? And I thought to myself, no, it's not. I'm still a successful entrepreneur. not just because something external is happening to me. I'm still in the driver's seat and I'm still able and capable of reaching my goals. Nothing is limiting me there. So I knew this is where I had to look and work on myself. So what I would like to do now is, you don't have to really only use a boring slideshow when you're doing an online webinar. And that's thanks to Bogdan that I learned that. What I would like to do now is run you through the story of 8. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'm going to stand up because I'm going to use a flip chart. Really old school, right? Because I would like to explain you how you can break the pattern, Floris. That was one of your questions. So if you can just bear with me, I'm going to stand up and get myself sorted out. So here you have my homemade flip chart. Let me see. That's better. Okay. So, for example, there is a certain event in your life. And in this case, it's Corona. Hope you can see it. Maybe not. I will send it later through with the real steps. But Corona happened. And what happened when Corona came into my life, and maybe you can think of how you responded when the first signs were coming in that it was coming into Holland. Here we go. You're already breaking the pattern now. You have my foot. Yay, great. So anyway, Corona happened. And what I did is, you know what? I gave a meaning to the event. So my meaning to the event was, oh no, it's a pandemic. This is gonna ruin my life or my entrepreneurship or anything like that. And this meaning you create by the patterns and the beliefs and the values, or maybe the way you were raised by your parents or by maybe past experiences. So meaning, and based on what meaning, you have your values and past experiences. That's how you create this meaning. So what happens, I gave a meaning to Corona. My limiting belief was, I'm not a successful entrepreneur. So let's do a little cross. Not a successful entrepreneur. So what I started doing was acting like I was not an entrepreneur anymore. I was looking for jobs every morning. 2, 3 jobs, 2 vacancies that even didn't suit my profile. And you know what? The reaction was, I got no's. No, you don't fit the profile. No, we're looking for something else. And so the result was, there you go, I'm not a successful entrepreneur. And I just went on and on and on in this little circle, what I call the autopilot. So can everyone still follow me? With the meaning, you mean in the case, the limiting beliefs you talked about earlier? Yes, thank you, Wendy. So yes, this is what I mean. An event happens. So I'm taking Corona, but an event happens. And the meaning I give to the event, because every event in essence is neutral. You know, Corona could be like the flu, and then I wouldn't have given this meaning. So the event is neutral, and the meaning I gave to it was the limiting beliefs, the little devil inside me. And that was based on the values and the experiences and maybe the anxiety I've heard from my parents in the past about other situations happening in their lives. So anyway, I was going through all these, autopilot steps, the pattern. So I got a no, and I went again and again. So after these 3-4 weeks in this survival modus, the survival strategy of doing a lot, I was doing more and better and different things, new job, new this. I started to think like, this is not okay, Fiona. You're teaching people, you're helping people to develop themselves based on this model, and you're not even doing it yourself. Ah, cool, Emma. I like that. So I decided to stop. Hello, you. Wake up, Fiona. What's going on? What are you doing? Why are you doing all these actions? And I decided to look at the facts. So the limiting belief was, I'm not a successful entrepreneur. And I asked myself, is this 100% true? And the fact was, no. I still have my business. I've even opened up another business. So yes, I'm still an entrepreneur. And the fact was, absolutely, I'm still here out there. Maybe my revenue went down, but that doesn't mean I need to look for a job. So what happened? I started acting in a different way. I started making new choices. And because of this new way of behaving, I had new opportunities. Opportunities I might not even have considered or found or anything like that. And because of these new opportunities, new results. And I'll give you a very good result. For example, this webinar. Or maybe I gave a masterclass for Stanford University. New results, all because I came back up in my age. And you know what? The new result, there's always the best part on that one, is I loved it. I enjoy it. I can still do and engage with people like I love to. You know, so I still feel like I'm the entrepreneur, and yes, I still am successful. So this is where I call the area of growth. Does anyone have a question based on this model? Very clear. Yay! Well, that's obviously my intention. I hope to inspire you, obviously. Not yet. Okay, tell me. What would you like me to explain? Is the autopilot always bad? Well, it depends on you. If you're happy with the results of the autopilot and you're not aware of your actions, but it's working for you, absolutely. As soon as your belly is starting to talk to you, Stan, oh, sorry, Wendy is saying that. As soon as your belly is starting to talk to you, that's where you can look into it. So obviously, as I explained, it's everywhere, the autopilot. Being aware 100% of the time is obviously not an option, I think. The only thing I'm trying to express here is that as soon as you become aware of this feeling in your belly, you ask the 3 questions to yourself, you start digging deeper into yourself, you can become aware that this, specific autopilot is not working for you anymore. And that's what I meant. As soon as it's not working for you anymore, become aware, stop, and make conscious choices towards new results. Does that answer your question, Wendy? Oh, yeah, totally, yes. Okay, so that's great. So let me sit down again with my beautiful plant in the background and share my screen again. Here we go. Oh, sorry about that. So that was the story of A. I can't see the chat box now. Let me see where it is. Here. Very clear. I'm curious about the question from Stan. Yeah, me too. I thought I saw Stan. Not yet. Stan, can I help you maybe with your question, or can we maybe talk about it face to face later on? What do you prefer? Here's fine. Great. Okay. So to summarize, I would like to walk you through the steps I just said. What I call personal leadership is the steps. Stop, watch yourself, and that's where I have the little glasses. Watch yourself, discover on the 3 questions, where can I say no? And when you found a no, start looking at your limiting beliefs and ask, are they 100% true? And that's where you're going to discover what you are able to let go. And when you're letting go of that thought that I'm not a successful entrepreneur, you can really decide and start acting a different way. You start telling other people around you. And in the end, you get a different result. And that's what I call personal leadership. So what I'm trying to do right now is getting you into, a little discussion maybe, into breakout rooms. However, I can't find it on my screen. So I was preparing myself for that. What I would like to do right now is, if anyone has a question, please unmute yourself and we can talk about it maybe in a little group discussion. So who would like to start sharing maybe things you've recognized, or maybe patterns that you're dealing with, or a question you have right now I can help you with?
Yes, Fiona.
Hi, Floris. Hi.
I have a question. How did you overcome the insecurity that comes with all these entrepreneurial ventures?
Yeah, sure. So what I found out is, as soon as I feel insecure, I started doing lots of things, and I'm basically overperforming without a focus. I need to start making myself relaxed again and find balance. So I was going through the 8 and I made a different choice. I stopped looking for vacancies. I just don't do it anymore. And I started, and I'm, how do you say that? Not a freak, but I like meditation. So I started doing meditation every morning, just 10 minutes to really set my intentions on being relaxed and in balance. And I started walking a lot as well. So that's how my insecurity went, because my energy level went down again. And I knew that I was making a new decision for not looking for vacancies anymore, but spending time with myself and finding the balance. And because of that balance, I really opened up to new opportunities and my creativity started flowing again.
Yeah, it's all clear. And another question about that 8 model.
Yeah.
So you said, so how I see it is, when your gut feeling tells you like, okay, I'm not feeling well about my life or professional life anymore, then maybe that's the moment that you realize that you're below in the 8 and that you maybe should go up in the 8.
Exactly.
But is there a certain pattern for? Is it for everyone different, of course? But is there like study that you found that it says, hey, after so many days you start realizing it, or is it just one can take a year and the other a week? Or
yeah, I know what you mean. So obviously we're all unique. And we all experience feelings of discomfort in a different way. So for me, I'm constantly pointing at my belly, because that's really, or even sometimes up here, that's really where I physically feel that something's wrong. I feel, my heart rate, but also restlessness and like a, how do you say that? A stone in my belly. But obviously, some people might feel it in their head. They're starting to worry. They can't sleep. Other people might be grumpy and start, making fights with a lot of people around them. And there's no scientifically proven amount of time when you start becoming aware of your patterns. My intention here is to make you aware of the fact that where do you feel discomfort, or how do you recognize discomfort, and really starting to become aware and conscious of when you're going there, that you have an option and that you have a choice to act differently. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, and Stan, you're right. You need to commit. You really need to commit to your choice. You're absolutely right. And there's a saying. I'm doing a life visioning quest on Mind Valley. It's a course, and they call this blisscipline. So instead of discipline, that you feel that you have to do something every day, like, oh, I have to meditate. and you are really pushed by doing it. And discipline means that the discipline is starting to work for you. And as soon as I really committed to meditating every morning, those 10 minutes, I really started feeling that balance coming back. And then the discipline was pulling me, you know, it was really attracting me, and it became bliss. It's a little bit American, but that's how they call it, discipline. So yeah, absolutely. You need to commit to your decision of going back up into your 8. Anyone else? Maybe a question I can answer, or something you would like to share? No? All right. Oh, yes, Emma, go ahead. Sorry.
Wacht even. Hi. Hi, Fiona, this is Emma.
Hi.
Well, I also have some limiting beliefs, and it keeps me from making decisions, actually, which is also one of the 8 personal leadership points. So I was wondering, do you have any advice to overcome that, start making decisions?
Yeah. Well, I've spoken, is that proper English? I spoke to a lot of people who are dealing with that limiting belief of, oh, I can't make a decision because I'm too scared, or I don't know what exact feeling you have with regards to it. One of the things you can really do is take off the pressure that the decision you make is going to change the rest of your life forever. Because that's, again, is this 100% true? That's the one for you. Yeah. So as soon as you start thinking like, am I allowed to learn? Am I allowed to fail? And grow? Think of Richard Branson. He made so many mistakes in his career of an entrepreneur, but he failed a lot, and he learned a lot, and he grew a lot. We all know how big his company is with Virgin. So maybe when you take the pressure off and you start thinking, I'm here to learn and experiment, and then maybe the result can be different.
Thank you. Yeah. A lot, thanks.
Welcome. Anyone else? Maybe? Nice, thank you. No or yes? All right, well, I guess I'm going to be finishing up then. Just my little, pointer for the end of the year.
Viona, I'm going to interrupt you a little bit. I do have one last question.
Hi,
and the question is very much about resistance, because what you're describing, and I know you very well, you are a person who is not having a lot of resistance. So of course your power of adaptability and the power of you seeing these patterns is remarkable. Mm-hmm. However, for a lot of people, resistance is a serious thing. Absolutely. So what is your recommendation around that? How first of all, how will people recognize their own resistance, and if they can, and how to deal with that resistance?
Yeah, well, I have a great tip there. Thank you for asking. There's this book called Who Stole My Cheese? And it's a very thin, easy to read book, and it really explains the way of how people react to change. And this is exactly what you're saying. I'm one of the people that really reacts super fast, maybe sometimes too fast even, without thinking. But my adaptability is fast. But obviously there are lots of people that are doing it differently. And I can give you an example. My partner is a super slow adapter to change. So for example, he really couldn't work at home. And you know what? As soon as they allowed him to go to his work, he went there. And I gave him the book, Who Stole My Cheese? And it really gives you an insight with maybe even a little bit of a childish story of how he dealt with not adapting to change. And again, as soon as you become aware of the fact that you're resisting, you can find out why you're resisting. So my tip would be is read that book, find out what your style is, how you react to change, and where you are able to experiment and fail and learn. Does it help you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, very much so. I mean, again, it's just I see this a lot. We all went into the lockdown pretty much at the same time, and exactly as you were describing, different stages of resistance, it's different stages of grief, and so on.
Yeah.
It's something interesting to see that the ones who suffer the most are the ones who resist the most.
Absolutely.
But of course, awareness first comes with this impulse, and then it's the very resistance that you need to recognize in order to move on. So very helpful. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Well, everyone, thank you so much. That was the last question I was allowed to take because I'm over time already. So for now, I just would love you to connect with me on LinkedIn, follow Discover Me. Our first online virtual event is going to take place in September. And, if you're looking to have personal coaching or you know someone, please get in touch with me as well. I can help you with your questions. So thank you all, everyone, and enjoy your day. I really enjoyed myself here, and I hope I'm able to inspire you a little bit. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.